Hello, this is Kieran from Football Obsession. Today I'm with Callum. How are you, Callum?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. We're just going to be reviewing today. Well, not today. Today we are going to be reviewing the first game week, the game week one for Premier League. Obviously, as we know, the best league in the world started back up, and I've really enjoyed it. I assume you would have as well with a Liverpool win, as you're obviously a Liverpool fan with the top you've got on.
Yeah, it was
Um,
entertaining to be honest.
Very entertaining, yeah. The only disappointing thing for me was the fact that it wasn't on. Like all Premier League games wasn't on. For example, last season, it was
Yeah,
2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and then 5:30, and then 8 o'clock. Whereas this season, it's back to 3 o'clock games not being on TV, which was
yeah,
disappointing for me. So we're just gonna get straight into it. I actually predicted 1-0 Brentford against Arsenal. It wasn't surprising at all that Brentford beat Arsenal there, was it? It's typical
they
Arsenal.
deserved the win. They deserved
Yeah.
it fully.
When a newly promoted team is outworking you and outsmarting you and outclassing you, that's when you know you're in trouble. And obviously, Arsenal will have their ups and downs this season, just like every other team. But it's going to be very difficult for them, considering, in my opinion, they haven't actually improved their team with Ben White and Albert Sambi-Lokonga. They haven't actually improved their team. Whereas, for example, Liverpool have improved their team with Kanate. United have improved their team with Varane and Sancho. City have kind of improved their squad with Grealish. I will not say fully because I've got an agenda against Grealish. So we're going to the next fixture with Norwich against Liverpool. Obviously, you'll be happy about that.
Yeah,
3-0. Yeah, I watched it until 2-0 and then turned it off. How did you feel about that performance from your team?
I felt very happy with it to be honest, especially
Yeah.
from Salah with the motivation from him and how he got annoyed when he missed a few chances and that, and then Jota luckily putting one of the chances away.
Yeah, I actually saw Salah missed broke a record in the Premier League. I don't know if you saw it. He broke the
Yeah,
record of he scored in the opening game week 6 times on the run or 5 times on the run in the Premier League, which is obviously an unbelievable record. He's a
yeah,
great goal scorer, which I'm sad about the fact that you've got him. I actually did rate him when he was at Roma as well.
yeah.
Uh, Obviously, it's worldwide known now that he's one of the top players in the world. But we're going to go on to my team now. United 5, Leeds 1. Did you watch the game?
I did actually, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was very excited when Leeds scored. But after Greenwood ran down the other end and just battered one past them, it was a game over after that, I thought.
Yeah. It was one of the best ever games. I've been to Old Trafford and I've had a season ticket for 9 years. So
Yeah,
it was a great atmosphere. I've never been to United versus Leeds before. So I was actually quite nervous in case of anything kicking off due to the rivalry. Whereas, for example,
yeah,
with United and Liverpool, there's still a hatred there, but the Leeds fans really hate us. Like in recent times, there's not been as toxic an atmosphere between United and Liverpool as there is between United and Leeds. And obviously the atmosphere did get toxic when Leeds scored, but and I thought we were going to lose it from there. I really did. I thought not again. But then somehow we managed to slap four more past them. Obviously, after they equalised, they looked 2 yards behind us every time, or at least we looked 2 yards ahead of them. Looking at the positives from the squad, I thought McTominay, who I hold the opinion that he's not particularly good enough. We still need a midfielder, and he was very good in my opinion on Saturday, and so was Fred with getting a goal. And Pogba only got 3 assists last season. Pogba got 4 assists in one game, proving Graham Souness wrong there the other day. But I'm looking forward to going to more games. Obviously, I know United are not at home for a few weeks now. But I'm looking forward to more games coming up this weekend. And then we're going to Burnley versus Brighton. Burnley 1, Brighton 2. which you kind of expect. You kind of expect 1-0, 2-0,
Yeah.
sort of thing. I didn't watch that game as it was at 3:00. But what do you think about
I think it's a very average score nowadays, 2-1,
that?
isn't it?
Yeah,
And I didn't watch the game, but I would assume off the impression that Brighton won. Um, with like the goals, 73rd, 78 minutes from Brighton. Maybe there's a few mistakes in there with defensive
yeah,
errors. Maybe got to the heads that they brought it back. But with James scoring in the second minute, maybe, Burnley just got a bit hot-headed
yeah.
later on throughout the game, thinking they've bagged their first win in the season, where they just didn't go for them.
Yeah, you're right there, because obviously that Tarkowski scored in that second minute, and that Tarkowski, me and Pope partnership is obviously it's actually one of the most underrated and best partnerships in the league, in my opinion. With how Sean Dyche has managed to just build the team around them 3 players, when the whole of pretty much the rest of the team is not a Premier League team, in my opinion. It's an unbelievable achievement for them to still be in the Premier League. So it's hard to say, but kind of chin up, Burnley fans. Don't get too disheartened. You'll still stay up in the Premier League unless something drastic happens with Sean Dyche and he leaves. Chelsea 3, Crystal Palace 0. I actually predicted this exact scoreline. It was like you could see it coming a mile off. And that I think you pronounce it Trevor Chalobah. He got man of the match and the goal. I was watching him in the Super Cup versus Villarreal, and he looked really good. I'd never seen him before. I believe he has 1 or 2 brothers that are playing professional football as well. One of them at Watford or something like that, maybe. And I believe he looks really good. I didn't watch that Chelsea match, but he looked good. I seen the goal from him as I was watching highlights and stuff like that, and it was a good goal. He looked really promising. What do you think?
I think it was a great match. I saw Marcus Alonso's goal, a great free kick, personally. I think the Trevor's goal was really good. I thought it's just sad to see that he probably wouldn't win goal of the week because of Ayling hitting one of the top bins, which was a fantastic goal. But on the start, it looked like Crystal Palace were all really on the defensive with 24 clearances, like 11 fouls, 38% possession. It just seemed like Chelsea were constantly on the attack, which most teams should be frightened of nowadays, really.
Oh yeah, of course. It was sort of a scoreline you could actually predict that, because Crystal Palace, I know they've got an actual player as a legend in Patrick Vieira as a manager, but he didn't do well in France, and there's no reason to think he may do well here. Obviously you've got to give him a try, because Roy Hodgson's I think he's retired.
I think he has, hasn't he?
And obviously he did quite well for them last season, but it was sort of, like I said, it was sort of a scoreline you could predict, and I'm going to be very, very scared of them this season with Lukaku coming into the team, and they've still got Thiago Silva to come into the team, so it's going to be quite they're going to be a very dangerous team, and probably challenging for the title as well.
Definitely. I think most teams this year are going to challenge you for title, like Man United, Liverpool, City, and Chelsea. And just technical difficulties.
That's fine. I agree with you in terms of Jose Mourinho football, but I think under Jose Mourinho, especially Spurs, I know what you're saying, but it was obviously you talked about before Jose Mourinho went to Spurs. But in my opinion, with Jose Mourinho at Spurs, he something, obviously everything went drastically wrong. I don't think they sacked him like a few days before a cup final, which was a daft decision in my opinion. But they sacked him because of the whole Super League fiasco, probably, which was on the day of the proposals. But they just never looked great under Mourinho. Even that run that they went on where Spurs fans were saying we're top of the league and you lot are in 15th and stuff like that. it just never looked convincing to me. It was never. He was never the right man for that job, in my opinion. Even like obviously watching the Spurs All or Nothing documentary, and Mourinho does look like a great coach there in the documentary and stuff like that. It just never worked for them. But if Nuno, as long as they don't challenge for the title near us, Nuno can work for them all they like. Yeah, we'll go on to Leicester versus Wolves now, which I'm not even sure. Is it Bruno Larger who Leicester have got as their who Wolves have got as their manager?
I'm not sure.
No.
Yeah,
I think it's Bruno Larger from. I think it might have been Benfica. If I'm wrong, correct me, guys, because obviously I didn't know that. I know that obviously, like we just said, Nuno was gone to Spurs. But with Leicester versus Wolves, obviously 1-0, Jamie Vardy getting back on the score sheet again. I didn't think Jamie Vardy looked great last season for some reason. He looked a bit off the pace, and that might sound daft to say, as he's always very mobile, always moving, always running. But I've been mentioning a few times last season that I didn't think he looked great, but I didn't watch the game, but obviously he got back on the score sheet and they've won the game, so he's won them the game. So they're back to the best again. Are we saying that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite harsh to count as underdogs now. Really,
100%.
Are contending for most titles nowadays, like the FA Cup, Community Shield.
Yeah, and they're even challenging for the Champions League spots. With obviously top four, they've missed out. So unlucky at 2 years on the run. They missed out on goal difference to us. Not last season, the season before. We were very, very lucky with that. But the owners. It's very. I was saying to my uncle the other day. You become more appreciative of good owners because there's so many bad owners in football nowadays.
Yeah, that just care about the money, the income.
Yeah,
I think the Leicester's owners are personally the best owners in the world for football.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And this may sound biased as well. And I know Salford City fans have not been happy, but I think Gary Neville as an owner is trying to listen to the fans. He may not be making the right decisions all of the time, which you're never going to get the decisions right all of the time. But he's trying to listen to the fans. In my opinion, communication with the fans is the most important thing, and that's what was missed out on in April. With it's very hard to forget what happened in April. You know what I mean? And when you're seeing good owners, and you can see owners coming onto the pitch and celebrating like with the Leicester City's owner, and he's honouring his dad in terms of what his dad would want and stuff like that. It's very, very. You sort of look at it and go, that's a very nice touch, but you'd never see that with, for example, John Henry or Joel Glazer or Stan Kroenke. If Arsenal won the FA Cup or Liverpool won the FA Cup or Premier League or even Champions League again, you'd never see that. We've never seen it with, like we say, Joel Glazer, and I know he does that with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in America, but I think it's sort of a requirement in the whatever division or playoff division they're in or whatever it's called. I just love more communication and more engagement with the fans. I love the engagement in terms of it doesn't feel like engagement when they're saying we'll go on a Zoom call for 30 minutes with 12 people when it doesn't represent about 3 billion people. Well, not 3 billion, about 300 million people that support Manchester United or like 300 million that support Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't represent that at all. It represents 12 fan groups that are match going fans, and I'm a match going fan as well. But we want to be represented as a whole, and I understand it's a very difficult thing. But massive respect to the Leicester's owners for doing that. Massive respect. So we're going to go on to Everton 3, Southampton 1. What do you think about that? I'll say my thoughts in a few minutes.
Well, I saw Southampton scored first, and I thought Southampton, I think they've got the win here. But then after Richarlison scored and that amazing Decore goal, I thought the quick turn, top bins, Kind of reminds me of when Oscar scored on his debut for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Was a brilliant goal. Like personally, like even from a Liverpool fan, I thought Everton deserved it.
Yeah. What 100%. I haven't seen the match. I'm going to make an effort, guys, by the way, to watch more matches that because last season I was watching all of the matches. I'm going to make an effort to be watching more of the matches because this will be a regular thing in terms of getting guests on to do a review of game weeks. So we'll be making an effort to watch more matches. But I've predicted Southampton to actually get relegated this season. They've sold Danny Ings, which I'm not sure why, for 30 million and not even reinvested it. And then they've sold Yannick Vestergaard to Leicester as well. It seems like they're selling quite a few of the players, especially key players. And last season, after they went top of the league, so after November, they picked up the fewest points out of any team. They only picked up 33 points throughout the rest of the games from November onwards, which is obviously it's like relegation form. But they'd already received enough points to not get relegated, accumulated enough points to not get relegated. You know what I mean? So I predicted them to get relegated. Do you think they're in that relegation shout?
I think it depends on if they can keep the performances up. And with the big loss of Vestergaard and Danny Ings, it just seems like no one really in that team will be able to fill those shoes. Danny Ings scored a lot of goals for Southampton to give them points, but there's at times where they messed up badly. It was like when Man United beat him, like absolute thrashed them.
Yeah, like their annual 9-0.
Yeah, just it doesn't happen every year. But
no, we're playing him. Well, it happened 2 years on the run. They got beat by Leicester 9-0, didn't they? The year before last, and then we beat them 9-0. I won't be surprised if it happens again with Varane and Sancho coming into the team on Sunday.
Honestly, like it just. I don't know, at 9-0, you just got to think about selling players. And like, I don't even know if you can blame one player. It's got to be the whole team, surely.
Yeah, fair play, though, to Ralph Hasenhüttl, because for some reason there's something about him that I rate, and that may sound daft. I've got double standards. Like, for example, if a manager got relegated, I wouldn't rate him. But Ralph Hasenhüttl, who was on relegation form for most of last season, I do rate. But I rate him number one for his man management as well, because to even pick up one win after being in the dressing room that's you're part of that's lost 9-0 twice, it is an unbelievable thing to do. Most managers, you would assume, would just walk away from that job, or even the club would sack that manager. You would sort of assume that would happen. So I think Ralph Hasenhüttl's resilience to keep progressing forward there has been great for Southampton, and Southampton's like resilience and cooperation with Ralph Hasenhüttl has been brilliant as well. So it looks grim for them, but I would hope for them, for your fans, that they don't get relegated. We're going to in my opinion, quite a shocking scoreline from someone who is one of my mates. One of my mates was shocked about this as well because he's a Villa fan. Watford 3, Villa 2. He was very shocked about this. He thinks they're going to challenge for like the Europa League spots maybe this season. And I was shocked about this. I didn't expect this. It just seems very, very confusing how they've lost 3-2, you know what I mean? But Watford obviously started well.
Even on the stats, it even shows like Aston Villa were quite heavy on the attack, with Watford having 25 clearances. Aston Villa in 4 corners. There was a lot of fouls conceded, with 18 from Watford and 13 from Aston Villa. But maybe it was just a flick of the switch for Watford, where they were just able to break them down really quick with using Emilia Sarr, who's obviously a very quick and talented young player. So maybe the attack was a lot quicker than Aston Villa's.
Yeah, 100%, because especially with when you're seeing the possession stats as well, with Watford having 37.9% possession and Aston Villa having 62.1% possession. it looks very like Watford have caught him on the counter a few times, and their new man Emmanuel Dennis. As far as I'm aware, he's a winger, but I'm not 100% sure about that. He got king of the match on the Premier League, which is sort of man of the match, I think. And he got a goal and an assist, so obviously he's doing well for them. The cycling GK is happy in Ben Foster, so fair play to them. So then we go on to another shocking scoreline, which you would not have predicted 6 goals to be in this match. Newcastle versus West Ham. It was very, very shocking. But I tweeted a few times during the game. I was saying throughout last season that Callum Wilson is one of the most underrated players in the underrated strikers in the Premier League. He consistently gets, if he stays fit, I think I can see him getting 15 goals for Newcastle, which is decent in a Newcastle team. He got 10 last season, and he was injured. Like, he had 2 big injuries. So I think that personally, that's a big thing for Newcastle to have him and Saint-Maximin back from injury, with Saint-Maximin getting a brilliant assist. Did you watch the game?
I didn't know, but
No.
I did hear about it when Newcastle went 1-0 up with Callum Wilson, and then all of a sudden he proper kept going back and forward on the attack every time. I thought it was an insane match that I missed, but it seemed very, very entertaining.
It was very entertaining. It was very end to end. Something that you wouldn't actually expect from a Newcastle West Ham game. Obviously, with West Ham not having Lingard currently as well. As of when I'm recording this on the Tuesday 17th. So obviously, if it changes, I can't know at this point in time. But with Newcastle not having Jesse Lingard, with West Ham not having Jesse Lingard, you would not expect them to score 4 goals. But somehow they managed it. It was an unbelievable game. And I was talking during the game just before Saeed Benrahma scored. I was saying, because I was saying, I was slating Adama Traore, for example, all of last season for not getting them goals and assists consistently. And I think he's one of the most overrated players in the Premier League. But for some reason, again, it's double standards with us football fans in general. Some reason I really like Saeed Benrahma, but I said he's got to get some goals and assists this season. Like more than he did last season. I think he only got 2 last season, goals or assists. And he actually got 1 goal and an assist in the first opening game. So I think that's really good for him, for his confidence. And obviously looked good for Brentford before he transferred to West Ham. And West Ham looked really dangerous with Antonio again. He's now the top scorer for West Ham in the Premier League, overtaking Paulo Di Canio. So if they get Jesse Lingard, they look like they can do well in Europe and in the Premier League. What do you think?
As the score shows, I think West Ham played really, really well, and I think it shows Lingard that they can win games like they did last season. Like, Lingard scored a lot of goals for them, won them games, but they could fight for Europa and maybe even like top 4 or 5.
Yeah. I really wanted them to get top 4 last season because I thought they played such good football. That I was sort of rooting for them, especially with Lingard going on loan to them. I was sort of rooting for them. But Newcastle also, I'm not sure if you've seen it, they announced Joe Willock. I think it was like just before the game. They unveiled him or announced him or whatever we want to call it. And sort of, he did unbelievable for them last season. He got 7 goals in 7 games, which obviously it's not world beating or anything like that. But for Newcastle, he sort of saved them in the Premier League. He sort of kept them up in the league, in my opinion. And it's a very good signing for them and a very bad sale, very bad bit of business for Arsenal selling him, in my opinion. So we're just going to go on to next week's fixtures, as well as after we've spoke about Spurs and City. We're going to go on to next week's fixtures, if that's okay.
That's fine, yeah.
So we'll speak about Spurs and City first, and I thought I would give every single one of them Spurs players an 8 out of 10, in my opinion. With Japhet Tanganga getting a 10 out of 10. He looked unbelievable. Did you watch the game? Yeah,
Oh, I did. Yes, it
yeah,
was a very, very good game.
yeah. It was a very entertaining game, and it was quite a back and forth game, despite what the scoreline will tell you. It was very. There was a lot of chances missed by Spurs. They were obviously definitely missing Harry Kane. You can't not miss such a good player like that in your team when he's done so well for you. So they were obviously missing him. So I thought it was a very good game, and I'm very, very glad that Spurs got them 3 points. I assume you will be too, with us both being 3 points clear of City now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think they played well. They
yeah.
deserved it, and hopefully Man City lose next week, but it doesn't seem like it with Aaron
Oh
Norwich.
no, not at all. It doesn't seem like they'll lose at all. I think I do think they actually lost to Norwich the last time they were in the Premier League, which was obviously not last season, the season before. But it's very unlikely that it will happen this time. So we're going to match week 2 in terms of sort of a little preview. We've just spoke about game week 1 or match week 1, whichever you want to call it. And now we're going on to match week 2. So 12:30, which I will be watching this game. Liverpool versus Burnley. Are you watching it? You will be.
I'm watching it. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you predicting? Are you going to predict a bold scoreline?
I'm going to say 2-0 Liverpool. I'm going to say Salah gets both.
2-0. I'm going to say 4-0 Liverpool. I just think Burnley. Obviously, you've got too much for Burnley. I think for sure that you'll be too much for them. And I think you actually, you got beat by them at home, didn't you, last season? But you had many injuries. There was many things going wrong with your team at the time. It was a great day for me, and I assume a very, very bad day for you. That. So we go on to now Aston Villa versus Newcastle, which again should be a good game. It's a 3:00 game, so I probably won't be able to watch this game. I'm going to try and get access to the point where I can watch 3:00 games. I'm not going to say anything more than that, because I'll probably get taken down off YouTube if I said more than that. But yeah, Aston Villa versus Newcastle. I'm going to predict 3-1 to Aston Villa. What are you predicting for that?
I'm going to say 2-1 Newcastle.
2-1 Newcastle. Okay, how come you're predicting? Is it just a bold scoreline or?
Yeah, it's just bold. I think Callum Wilson will get one and take maximum, probably.
Okay, yeah, that obviously is very possible. That I think Aston Villa have actually improved their team with obviously they've sold Jack Grealish for £100 million, but they've got Leon Bailey, they've got Danny Ings, they just got Emiliano Buendia as well, which I rate Buendia a lot. I do think he's good. I'm not seeing much of Leon Bailey, but I know that he's a good player, and Danny Ings as well. He's a proven Premier League goal scorer. So I think they might have too much for Newcastle, and I think they might just beat them. I said 3-1, I think. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with that. Crystal Palace versus Brentford. I think this could go either way. What do you think?
I think it's going to be 1-1.
1-1. Okay. I think it's going to be 2-0 to Brentford. They're going to get 2-0 wins on the bounce. I think it might be a bit of a harder game than ours. Nah, I'm only joking. But I think it's going to be a very obviously a very close like closed game in terms of both teams are trying to defend as well as they can. Both teams are trying to attack as well as they can, and may struggle, both of them. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very I think it's going to be a very close scoreline either way. 2-0, obviously it's sort of close and sort of not at the same time. So we move on to Leeds versus Everton, which should be a very good game considering the way Marcelo Bielsa has got Leeds playing, and obviously Everton, not Carlo Ancelotti, Rafa Benitez. He's obviously gone there. He'll be trying to adapt his play style still. So what do you think about this game?
I think Everton's going to win 3-1.
Okay. I think Leeds are going to win. I'm going to say 4-2. I'm going to go with a very bold scoreline there, 4-2. So we're going to City versus Norwich. I think this is an easy one to predict. I'm actually going to predict Manchester City 5, Norwich 0. I pray that Norwich beat them. If Norwich beat them, what a weekend that would be. I might try and watch that match somehow, whether I manage to get on a website or a Fire Stick that I've got, managed to get something on there. I will try and watch that match. It might not be guaranteed, but I will try my best, guys, so I can speak about it in more depth on next week's podcast. What are you going to predict for this game?
I'm going to say 4-0 Man City.
4-0, yeah. Oh, yeah, I think Norwich already looked beaten against Liverpool. They already looked sort of lethargic, sort of like they'd already been relegated. They'd already accepted defeat, which they do often look like generally, but it's not. They've not really got much hope. Whereas, for example, Watford, who are playing Brighton on the 5:30 game, it's not one of the best. Like, it's not a blockbuster headline game, but that to be on Sky Sports on Saturday Night Football. But it should be a very interesting game because Brighton, I know the Irish guy on HITC Sports says that Graham Potter is a football hipster in a waistcoat, but I think they play very, very good football. Do you?
I think they play decent football. Yeah, like
yeah.
I think to be fair, I think it's all well rounded, really.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think if they had a striker, I genuinely think if they had a striker, they'd be challenging maybe for the Conference League, Europa Conference League, which I know we take the mick out of as sort of fans of big clubs, and sort of we take the mick out of Spurs for being in it. But if a team like Brighton managed to get in it, it's a big achievement that for Brighton, and you would sort of say fair play, you know what I mean? So I'm going to predict for this game. I'm going to predict 2-2 Brighton versus Watford. What are you going to predict there?
I'm going to say 2-1 Brighton.
2-1 Brighton, yeah. I think either way, that should be a very interesting and very good game, very entertaining to watch game. Southampton host Manchester United. So I'm obviously going to predict United to win. I think we're not going to win 5-1 or score 5 goals every game, especially with Fred and McTominay in the midfield with Leeds. But the only thing I can be is positive. Like, I can't take any negatives away from that 5-1 because there isn't any negatives. For me, it was a perfect day, like I've already said. Varane getting unveiled. I sort of received the news via a notification via MUFC MPB, which is a news account, that BT would receive that BT have received news that this is going to happen. I was inside the stadium when this happened. Somehow I had signal, and somehow I managed to receive the news. So I told a few people about it. I didn't know whether it was going to definitely happen, but the way it happened, it sort of. I know United probably didn't plan it to happen like that, to unveil him like that, but everyone was on a 10 out of 10, and it sort of brought everyone to a 12 out of 10. And then the game started, which brought everyone to a 14 out of 10. And it was one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen at Old Trafford, ever, like I say. And I can only be positive. So I'm going to go with Manchester United 4, Southampton 0. What are you going to go with?
I was going to guess 4-0, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it's another 9-0. I've obviously only seen United win 9-0 once. So I know we did it against Ipswich in like the 90s, but that was obviously a long time ago. We both probably wasn't here then. Wolves versus Spurs. This should be a very, very, very closed, like tight game. I'm gonna go with 1-0 to Spurs. What are you gonna go with?
I'm going to say 2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. I generally don't predict Wolves to score because I really rate Raul Jimenez. I think he's a great player. But number one, he's just come back from a big injury, like an obviously very upsetting injury to see against Arsenal last season, early in the season. And number two, they struggled to score last season. And I know Fabio Silva's very young, but he just didn't look very good to me. Like I said, I know he's only young, so I'm not going to go in on a player that's very young. Like, obviously, I would never knock someone's confidence like that. But I'm just not sure that I can't see where the goals are coming from, which is sort of what I tweeted about Arsenal against Brentford when they had Balogun on the pitch, who undoubtedly is obviously a very good youth player, but Arteta's not playing the system that suits him. And then you're like, obviously Smith Rowe can come out of something, but then bar them two, you're like, where are the goals actually going to come from? And that's what I'm sort of thinking with Wolves. Where are the goals going to come from? So that's why I've gone with 1-0 Spurs. Arsenal versus Chelsea. It's looking bleak for Arsenal, isn't it?
I'm going to say 4-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, it's looking bleak for Arsenal. I'm going to say 3-0 to Chelsea. Lukaku will probably get 2 goals, I reckon. Yeah. It's going to be a great game to watch. Like, obviously, I don't want Chelsea to win because I want more teams that are going to be challenging for the title. So City, Liverpool, Chelsea to drop points as much as possible, but I can only see a Chelsea win here. So I'm going to say 3-0. So then we go on to West Ham versus Leicester, the first Monday night football of the season, which should be good. Obviously, I assume we all enjoy Monday night football as football fans. So West Ham, I'm gonna go with 3-3, a very, very bold scoreline, which may not come off. But what are you gonna go with?
I'm going 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester. Okay. It could be, but I think. Yeah, I think both teams are sort of they're sort of on the same wavelength in terms of quality. Well, maybe not quality in terms of the way they play. Leicester play very good football, and so do West Ham. But obviously, Leicester's quality, like you've got Tielemans, you've got Vardy, you've got I would say Fofana, but obviously he's injured. Ricardo Pereira, if he's playing. You've got Harvey Barnes. You've got quite a few players who look like great players. So I'm gonna say 3-3. Very bold scoreline, which may not come off, but yeah, I'm gonna predict that. But is there anything you want to say? Any like add-ons you want to say in this episode?
No, not really.
No. Thank you for coming on, Callum. I appreciate it.
It's all right.
This has been Kieran. This has been Callum from Football Obsession, and I'm out.